In 1545, Spanish conquistadors discovered a mountain, not just any mountain, a mountain made entirely of silver. 50 years later, Spain declared bankruptcy, then again, and again, 13 times in total. How do you find unlimited wealth and still go broke? Let's start at the beginning. In 1492, Christopher Columbus landed in the Americas, claiming it for Spain. What Spain found there changed history forever. The Aztec Empire in Mexico and the Incan Empire in Peru. Both had accumulated gold and silver for centuries. Spain conquered both empires and took everything. But the real treasure wasn't what these civilizations had already mined. It was what was still in the ground. Cerro Rico, the rich mountain, in Potosí, Bolivia. If you want to understand inflation, currency collapse, and why money doesn't equal wealth, subscribe, because everything starts here. In 1545, Spanish settlers discovered silver deposits at Potosí, but calling them deposits is like calling the ocean wet. This mountain contained the largest silver deposit ever found in human history. Over 60,000 tons of pure silver were extracted over 300 years. In today's money, over $3 trillion from one mountain. Spain had just won the biggest lottery in human history. Within decades, Potosí became one of the largest cities in the world. By 1600, 160,000 people lived there. Bigger than London, bigger than Paris, all because of silver. But here's the part Spain doesn't tell you. To get that silver, they used a system of forced labor called the mita. Indigenous people were required to work in the mines 1 week out of every 7. The mines went 1,500 feet deep. Workers descended on rope ladders into complete darkness with no safety equipment and no ventilation. The temperature inside was over 100 degrees, and the air was toxic with mercury fumes used to process the silver. Workers would enter on a Monday and not see daylight until Sunday. Many never came out at all. Historians estimate 8 million indigenous people died in these mines over 300 years. 8 million. One Spanish priest wrote, "These mines have consumed more Indians than there are grains of silver extracted from them." All that silver was loaded onto galleons and shipped to Spain. Between 1500 and 1800, Spain extracted enough silver to increase Europe's total supply by 300%. Spain was drowning in silver. They thought they'd solved economics forever. Instead, they'd triggered a disaster. When massive amounts of silver flooded Spain, something strange happened. Prices started rising, fast. Between 1550 and 1650, wheat prices rose 400%, meat 500%, rent 600%. This became known as the price revolution, one of history's first documented cases of massive inflation. Here's why it happened. Spain had tons of silver, but silver doesn't feed people. It doesn't make clothes. It doesn't build houses. Spain hadn't increased production. They'd just increased the money supply. More money chasing the same goods equals higher prices. Economics 101. Meanwhile, Spanish nobles stopped producing things. Why farm when you can buy food with silver? Why manufacture when you can import? The silver that came from the Americas didn't stay in Spain. It flowed to countries that actually produced goods. Spain had the money, everyone else had the economy. In 1557, King Philip II declared Spain bankrupt. Wait, bankrupt? With mountains of silver? Yes. Spain borrowed massive amounts to fund wars across Europe, assuming the silver would flow forever. It didn't. As mines got deeper, extraction costs rose and profits declined. 1575, bankrupt again. 1596, bankrupt again. 1607, bankrupt again. By 1700, Spain had declared bankruptcy 13 times. 13. How do you go bankrupt with a mountain of silver? Simple. You confuse wealth with money. Wealth is production, factories, farms, skills, innovation. Money is just the tool to trade that wealth. Spain destroyed its own production capacity. They stopped farming, stopped manufacturing, stopped innovating. By 1700, Spain went from the most powerful empire to one of the poorest countries in Western Europe. The silver was gone, spent on wars, luxuries, and imports. Today, Spain's economy ranks 15th globally. They had the world's largest treasure and squandered it all. As a Spanish diplomat wrote in 1675, "We have become beggars sitting on a bench of gold." So what can we learn from Spain's disaster? Lesson 1. Money is not wealth. You can have all the money in the world, but if you can't produce goods and services, that money becomes worthless. This is why countries that rely on natural resource extraction, oil, diamonds, gold, often end up poorer. Economists call this the resource curse. Discover valuable resources, assume you're rich forever, and stop building a real economy. Spain's story helps explain Venezuela today, or Saudi Arabia, and many African nations rich in resources but poor in development. Compare Spain to the Netherlands in the 1600s. Spain had unlimited silver, the Netherlands had swamps. But the Netherlands built shipyards, banks, and education. They became rich. Spain became poor. Spain found a literal mountain of silver, $3 trillion worth, and it destroyed them. Because wealth isn't what you have in the ground, it's what you build with it. But there's one more thing. 8 million indigenous people died mining that silver. Bolivia and Peru remain two of the poorest countries in South America today. They've never recovered. This is part 2 of my How Empires Got Rich series. Part 1 covered Britain's 45 trillion heist from India. They actually used the wealth to build an empire. Spain wasted it all. If you missed Britain, watch that next. The link is in the description and on screen. Next week, we'll look at France and how they built a luxury empire on African blood. Here's my question. Spain extracted $3 trillion using forced labor that killed 8 million people. Should Spain pay reparations to Bolivia and Peru today? Comment below. And subscribe so you don't miss the episode on France. Thanks for watching.